Hello all, Nice Tale here, bringing you a knife review. This is the ZT-0640, made in the US. It is, I believe it says it right here. Yes, an Emerson design. This is the WBW. It's a special edition. It's with this kind of glow carbon fiber. It's blacked out. This is a discontinued knife, so I'm not even going to bother talking about linking it. I don't really think I can. What are we looking at here? We're looking at a pretty slender, long drop point using a thumb disc for deployment on washers. It is... I'm going to call it a frame lock because realistically these are not full scales. They're just overlays, so it's kind of a frame lock. With back spacers, pocket clip, standard stuff. Let us get into the... Well, first of all, I do like the look of this knife quite a bit. I had one of these for a while, and they were discontinued eventually, and then I found one on the secondary that was stated to be brand new, and it seems to be brand new, pretty much. There was a little bit of a mark on the blade, so maybe it was like a factory second or something, but beyond that, it's quite nice. I cleaned it up after having carried it for a little while, and it's cleaned up pretty well. There are very little marks on it. Still actually quite sharp. This one came surprisingly sharp. Let's get into specs real fast so we can get that out of the way. You have 3 3/4 inch of blade, so it's slightly on the larger side. Not a large knife, still a full size in my opinion. Large is over that 3/4 inch and usually requiring some other dimension to be also kind of large for me to start categorizing it that. Otherwise it's 4 inches of blade. 8 inches and 5/8, so decently long on the full thing, and I'm going to call it 4 7/8. It's a little hard to tell. I think it's 4 7/8-ish. Instead of me rambling off numbers, let's check out some comparisons. The small knife comparison, as usual, Civivi Elementum, and the full-size knife comparison, the Civivi Conspirator. These are pretty reasonably sized knives, and this one especially is a pretty common and well-known to most knife. For good reason. And yeah, it's bigger than both. This is about a 2.9... Well, they say it's a 2.86 inch blade, but if you actually measure the entire thing right to the scale, I think it's almost exactly 3 inches. And this is about 3.5. So, yeah, it is a 1/4 inch longer. A decent of that's blade. Like, you're getting a little more handle, but you're getting a equal, if not slightly more than that in blade. So it's actually got pretty good ratios. One more comparison, might as well do it while we're here, is the AA batteries, because everybody can put 2 AA batteries in line and tell you where you're sitting. So let's see. This is pretty much as far up on the scale as you want to go, and you have all this room. So more than 2 AA batteries of hand room. You're not going to worry about hand room. Like, it's more than accommodating. More than accommodating. Yes. Let's get this out of the way, see if that... And compare the thickness. It's reasonably thick. It's definitely, I think, thicker than the Conspirator by a decent amount. Not a decent amount. Like, maybe I should have left the background up so we could see it, because these are 2 black knives. I do think it's a bit thicker with the overlay scales. We will check with the calipers right now. Full thickness is 550 thousandths, so half an inch. But over that, yeah. I'm pretty sure the Conspirator comes in at like 520. 25. So yeah, it is definitely thicker. It's reasonably thick, but at the same time, I have to say this one is appropriately thick, right? It's not a tall knife by any means or any stretch. In fact, yeah, at its highest, it outpaces the Civivi Elementum. I guess if you want to put it at its very peak, it's not as tall as the Conspirator with the... Actually, no, it's not as tall as the Conspirator even with or without the flipper tab at its very highest. Close, but not quite. Parts of it are. Blade stock thickness 155. I'm going to call that 155 thousandths. Yeah, that is the one downside of this. This is very obviously, I mean, it's an Emerson, so it's a tactical design. It's definitely the one major weakness of this knife, and that is blade stock and overall behind the edge thickness are not overly thin. This is a harder use style knife with a very precision sort of nimble profile going on. So yeah, yeah, it looks like it's about 122.5 to 123-ish on the behind the edge. So it's thick. It doesn't have a lot of room to drop. And it's got a thicker blade stock. Honestly, yes, if you want to say that you really wanted a thinner, more dainty knife or a lighter used knife, they should have either done a thinner blade stock, which should have been fine on this design, or they could have done a hollow grind. But again, Emerson tactical, you're looking for strength kind of sort of stuff. It's got that thicker tip, right? I may eventually, if I can get like something, may try to get it reground, just hollow grind off there, take all the bannering off the blade, because that's one of the bad things about ZT and Kershaw. They put too much crap on their blades. But other than that, it still works, and as I said, it is surprisingly sharp. It's got a good edge on it. It's a decently tall edge. It's probably, 25 degrees per side-ish. Well, hopefully it's 20, but it might be 25, just because of how thick it is. Moving on from there, we have weight. And I think that this particular area, despite the thick blade stock, despite the fact that the internals are not milled out at all, you can see in there, it's probably not going to be a very heavy knife. 4.43 ounces. That's, I mean, for considering how close of that is to 1 ounce an inch, that's not bad for this size of knife. And let's see, where's the balance point? It's a bit butt heavy, though it is sitting kind of where they want you to put your primary grip, right? This is kind of a choked up grip, so this is your primary grip, so it's in line with that. And hardware. Oh, that's a T9. That would explain that. That's a T10. Get the right hardware. Get the right hardware. Yeah, that's your T8 right there. You can kind of see it. T8 hardware there. And none of these outer screws match up with that, and they're T6s. So at the very least, you've got T6s on the overlay and T8 on the pivot. Maybe T6s on the pocket clip, though you can reverse it, so I guess that you could end up coming into contact with that. I don't like the T6s. There's no reason for them, especially on a harder use knife, right? As soon as you start going into these thicker, harder use kind of style knives, even if it is a slender one, you really just want T8s all around. I don't know what the standoffs, that's the word I'm looking for. I knew I was there. I don't know what the standoffs are in size, but seeing as these are T6 and that's T8, it's either one. It's one or the other, right? It doesn't really matter. You're already having to go through T6s to get to it. Captured pivot. I haven't actually had to mess with that at all. Like, this thing came pretty much perfectly centered. It does look, let's see, it looks a tiny bit off center, but I think that's because if you actually look closely, and you can kind of see it even on the camera, the one side, the grind's not completely even. The one side, the grind seems to go back just a little bit further, so it changes the angles just a tiny bit, which makes it, to the eye, occasionally look like it's throwing it off center a little bit, but the tip itself, I'm pretty certain is, yeah, pretty certain that tip is right on the money. No play. Smooth action. Really smooth action, actually. This came, I mean, pretty good. It hasn't even really broken in that much, honestly. It's just sort of taken its time, but it's super smooth. Solid enough detent. I'm not worried about whipping this thing out at all. In fact, I don't think I can. And it throws out quite well, quite easily. Let's see. Do I have any other specs that I want to cover? No, I don't think I do. Okay, let's talk about this knife. I like the overall aesthetic. I like this. I am a fond of these thin, sort of controllable knives. I mean, this one has a little bit more chunk than for its size, but even if you really compare it, it also has the same kind of vibe to it. Here's one. Monterey Bay Old Guard. I like these not too tall, but slender knives. So, I mean, I like all knives, and there are many knives that I have in my collection, and that's just certainly not quite fitting the same style. But I do have I like the kind of knives where there's an arc that drops into like a low drop tip, because it sort of goes down, and I also like this sort of slender profile particularly a lot. So this knife has already sort of got an advantage here because it speaks to me. And then you get it in hand, and yeah, it's pretty darn comfortable. The jimping is actually, weirdly enough, slightly functional. It's not the most comfortable because it's just deep, wide jimping. But it does provide traction, and it would definitely add traction in glows. And it's got it back here and up here. So, and it also doesn't make the knife unpleasant unless you're really bearing into it, in which case you can probably get around it by just going up here or something like that. And the knife is super comfortable ergonomically in every position, especially considering this pocket clip. I mean, yeah, that is a low pocket clip, and yet it works. That's the weird thing. Like, this pocket clip doesn't look like it has any ramp. It's super tight to it. But other than super thicker pants, like, this actually works. I've not had a problem. Let's see, in the pants I'm wearing now, they have thicker seams on them. Let's see. Okay, yeah, it's got a little bit of issue in that, but the pants I have now actually have zippers on the pocket, so the thick zipper line has a little bit of issue going over it, but I haven't had any trouble with any of the other pants I've had on with it. So, it's mostly functional. Just can throw it off a little bit depending on, I guess, your type of pants. And being this low profile, it basically doesn't feel like it's got much, if any, thing in the way of a clip there. It's almost completely disappearing, which is nice, very nice. Let's go up to here. Let's just start talking about the blade aspects. This black wash is very interesting. It sort of tapers off a little bit where you can see a little bit more. Well, I don't know if it'll come over in the camera, but you can see it gets like lighter down lower, just a little bit. But it does that pretty consistently, so I'm not complaining. The ZT logo, I don't like stuff on the bevels. Just ZT, put your logo right up there. And all of this, no, this does not need to be there. CPM 20CV, right there. USA, right there. The rest can go. If you have to put it, Emerson right there. But yeah, the branding's a bit much for my tastes. The thumb stud is it's not bad. Right? It does provide some grip, and it works really well for the thumb flick. It is a little bit low for the reverse flick. Right? You kind of have to get it with the meat of your finger at the right angle, and there, you can throw it out. You can't really, like, get your nail under it and comfortably do it. You sort of just skate right off, because it's not... It's on the smaller side, and it's not super aggressive, right? You can definitely get it with the reverse flick if you really just aren't completely under camera all the time. There you go. Because I'm, of course, like, yeah. But, yeah, I can still do it. It's definitely front thumb flickable. And, even though it's definitely not intended to be, you can actually front flip this thing. Now, the front flip can take some getting used to because it's soft, it's rounded, and right here where you would, like, you know, put the most pressure is canted in and rounded off quite a lot. So you have to go a little bit low and do that. But it works. Other than that, really, I like the blade shape, and the thickness is appropriate for what they were going for here. So I'm not going to say anything too much about that. The handle, I like this carbon fiber. It's supposed to be a glow carbon fiber. I haven't really played around with how much it glows or not. I think I've seen them glow decently in other images and stuff. But I do like the look of it. It's got sort of that black and white kind of feel, which gives it a very interesting look for carbon fiber, in my opinion. It's also finished pretty well. There's like no voids. It's got an interesting texture to it. It almost feels like that peel ply over G10, but it doesn't look like it is. It looks like it's carbon fiber all the way through. You can see the sides of it. So they may have textured it a little bit, and it feels good. It's smooth, but it's got just a tiny little bit of feel to it. It's not offering grip, but it's nice. I also really like, and it's kind of weird because it's kind of out of place, the extra little bit of milling on this, right? It's got this just a little bit of extra design right here that looks really good when you get the whole thing together and you feel it. And also, if you're going like this on it, it really lets you know where you are. It's not providing much, but it definitely is kind of interesting, and it cants down towards the blade, so you can get those like better pinch grips and stuff. It's a nice little design aspect. There is a lock bar in there, and I mean a lock bar insert in there. Sorry. Big washers, standoffs. I think everything. I think the hardware. Where are you going? Oh, hardware is steel. No. The standoffs are steel. Okay, the hardware and the pocket clip back here are all titanium. The standoffs and the pivot, for some reason, are steel. Not going to question that. I don't really care that my hardware is steel or titanium 99% of the time. I mean, I prefer steel pivots because they tend to be tougher, right? Titanium can strip out a little bit faster because it's a little bit softer and a little bit more malleable and stuff. Either or. Sharpening tool and plunge grind, let's mention that. It does come really close to the edge, but it definitely stops before the edge. It stops about there. and you have basically the entire drop down to the edge. Seems to stop right there. It looks like it stops there, but it actually stops a little bit in front of that. But it's still way up there, so you have all of this drop down. So yeah, for a knife that's about all the life you're going to get out of it, because considering the low grind and the thickness, it's giving you its maximum life. That's not bad. I will also say that the lock bar axis is excellent, right? They not only did they chamfer this out, which they probably didn't even necessarily need to, considering they left you this hole in there, but it adds even more comfort. And you can come at it completely from the side because you have this whole giant chamfered area, and yeah, that works. I will say that the stop pin hits directly behind the edge. Can we get a good look at that in this darker knife? I really need to get like a good flashlight. That's something I don't have any. EDC flashlights. I need to get some. Eventually. There you can kind of see it, the little hint of that's where the edge termination is. It hits right behind there. It is basically in this gully. It's touching this. Now, because you only have technically this kind of much life on the knife, it shouldn't actually affect you. You cannot cut in more sharpening choil, but you also, the way they did this with the actual amount of life that you're going to get off this knife, which is probably about up to there before it starts getting really thick, basically up until the notch itself, or the top of the notch that they put in there, you're not really going to have to cut in sharpening choil probably. And at that point, the knife is going to be super thick. So they did it in the bad way, putting it where I don't like it, and where I think it probably should never go. But it doesn't actually impact this particular knife, because they gave you extra blade below that, and that's probably about all you're getting out of it anyway. Action again, quite good. It's not like drop shot or anything, but it's quite smooth, and it came pretty much this way on the washers, which is nice. So yeah, overall, I do really like this, and if you're looking for sort of like a harder kind of use knife that's also not gigantic, this really fits the bill. It has been discontinued though, so I can't link it, I can't do that. They do float around. I mean, I got this on the secondary, so I like this knife quite a bit. I kind of hope that ZT maybe brings it back, puts, like, you know, a hollow grind on it or something. And honestly, that's all they have to do. They could even, if they really wanted to, they could make a slightly smaller version, like a 3.5-inch one, and have a large and a medium sort of knife. It's really good. There's actually nothing to complain about. And I don't typically, I'll be honest with you, don't typically love Emerson designs. But this is done quite well. Haven't had play, haven't had lock slip or anything like that. So yeah, the 0640 is, for a period of time when ZT wasn't doing a whole lot of interesting stuff, this one was in their line and was one of just a couple that were sort of outliers to me. And I like it. So that's everything on the review. I think we are done here, and I can confidently call this one in the books. So, I will end things right here. I'm not even going to bother saying like and subscribe, because I should have done it earlier, and I always forget. Oh, I have one thing. The edge of the lock bar, you can sort of feel it a little bit when the knife is open, and it's a little bit sharp. I mean, not sharp, but it's a hard edge. So if you push into it, yeah, it's kind of, you can feel, and it's not great. But most of the time, you're not noticing it at all. So yeah, that's everything. I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around for bits and pieces of it, even whether the whole thing or not, I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a good day again. That's all for me. See you later.